for joining us wherever you're joining us from, be it YouTube, Facebook. Thank you for joining our live stream. Today we have an interesting topic concerning the hot debate currently ongoing within our country, and it's about the GMOs, genetically modified organisms. Maybe Alice will correct me when she talks if I'm saying it well. Now, our guest is called Miss Alice Kemunto. She's the Executive Director at Consumer Grassroots Association and co-founder of Alliance of East Africa Consumer Organizations. She's also the Director of Kenya South Africa Chamber of Business, and she is also a celebrated consumer policy consultant. Alice is passionate in working with community, especially at the grassroots, where her services uplift the well-being of the people. And we look forward to learning more about the GMOs and how it will affect our society. Maybe before we start off, we could start off with a word of prayer. And yeah, I'll take us through the word of prayer. Let us pray. Thank you, Father, for this day. Thank you for granting us the opportunity to convene here in this platform. We thank you for our guest speaker, Alice Kemunto. We thank you for the knowledge that she will be sharing with us. We pray that it may be of use and of impact, not only to ourselves, but also to the society and our country at large. We do pray, trust, and believe in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
So I will like to invite Mr. David Ndome to give us a brief introduction of our group and how and also introduce Alice to take the floor. Karibu sana, David.
Thank you very much, Jeff, and most welcome everyone. And it's a great evening where we have to listen to an expert in the area of GMOs, somebody who is an expert in the areas of consumer protection and the laws that pertain to consumerism. But just before we go to listen to our expert today, who is also a member of the Kajiado We Want CBO, I want to introduce the Kajiado We Want CBO, what it is all about. Kajiado We Want CBO is a community-based organization that is non-political, but deals with community and development issues in the following 8 areas. First area is the area of infrastructure. The second area is the area of education. The third is health. The fourth is security. The fifth is advocacy for the vulnerable. The sixth is water and sanitation. The seventh is environment. And the eighth area is about community policing and matters to do with our security. So those are the 8 areas, and as well as job creation. I almost forgot. Job creation, trade, and industry. So those are the 8 areas that we are dealing with as a community. And basically, because those areas are government in terms of delivery, we are dealing with those 8 areas in the following manner. 1, creating awareness. We need to create awareness to the public and to the residents of Kajiado so that they're able to know how they can engage within themselves and also with government and NGOs in order to improve in those 8 areas. Number 2, it is through lobbying government, that is national as well as county, in order to deliver the services that they should do. We lobby through public participation, which is provided for in the Constitution, memoranda, petitioning, and picketing as a last resort. And that and final way of achieving the objectives in the 8 focus areas is through partnership. This is where, as a CBO, we can partner with entities, especially individuals and non-governmental organizations, corporates, to deliver an objective. For example, in the area of job creation, we can partner with an NGO and come up with a way that enables job creation or supporting the vulnerable in the society. And in the vulnerable, we mean the children, the youth, women, people living with disability, as well as the senior citizens. So that is what we are doing as the Kajiado We Want. And we've been in existence for only 3 months because we were incorporated as a WhatsApp group first on 15th August. And I think we just 3 months, and that is what we are doing. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining us. We've been talking a lot about all those topics I've mentioned. We've had speakers on environment, on entrepreneurship, on mental health. We've had speakers on legal matters, succession, and separation. We've had speakers on social entrepreneurship, and of course, very many other areas in health, in education, and all that. And tonight, we are discussing the hot topic, and our guest is none other than Alice Kemunto, who is the CEO of Consumer Grassroots Organization, who has worked very long within the community and specifically in Kajiado. She is spearheading the matters to do with GMO, and today she will shed more light to enable us understand what is GMO and what is the way forward for our community, for our society, so that when we get to public participation, if we get there, if the government gives us an opportunity, we will know what to say and what to support and what not to support. Thank you very much, and back to you, moderator.
Thank you very much, David, for the introduction of our group. I hope we will have more people joining us to our CBO. Now, I would like to give Alice now the floor. I know we are all eager to know what she has to say about GMOs. And without any further ado, Alice, karibu sana, and you now have the floor.
Oh, thank you, team, for this opportunity. I hope I'm audible enough. If you're on other platforms, kindly, you can just give a thumbs up to indicate that I'm audible enough. As you've heard, my name is Alice Kemunto, and I'm the current Director, Consumer Grassroots Association. And our focus is to enhance the protection of consumer rights here in Kenya and also in Africa. I have the opportunity to be also one of the co-founders of the East African Consumer Organizations Alliance. And there's great and a great opportunity out there. I'm learning a lot, and I'm grateful that we are also impacting the society in East Africa, of which we are looking forward to partner with other consumer organizations from other countries to ensure that Africa is safe. I'll be sharing my screen, and I would request that whatever, in any platform you are in, just write. If you have any concern, you have any question, kindly just write it on the chat box, and it will be picked in due time. So I'm going to share my screen. Jeff, the screen is a bit, is it okay that way? All right, here we are. So that's me, Kemunto, Consumer Grassroots Association, and we are glad to be here today. Before we talk about GMOs, because the topic today is GMOs, which way to go, I want to give you a small introduction or maybe shed some light on what we're doing in Kenya and also in East Africa. Okay. Yeah, Consumer Grassroots Association was founded in the year 2015. I hope you can see the screen, and it was formally registered in the year 2018 as a national association to enhance protection of consumer rights, especially consumers at the grassroots. Those consumers that were neglected for years by the stakeholders then. We draw a mandate from Article 46 of the Constitution, Consumer Protection Act of 2012, and the Competition Act of 2010, just among other statutes. Our call or our core mandate is to work towards a fair, and just market for all people. Before still we go to GMOs, we want to understand who is a consumer, because sometimes we mix words out there. A consumer is you and I, anyone that purchases goods and services for use, is the final user of a good or a service. And that is the consumer. That is the person that we are representing. A small history of consumer protection. It started in the year 1985 in America, where one President J.F. Kennedy ensured that 4 consumer rights have been enshrined in the Constitution of the United States. And from there on, other leaders in the world picked up. And right now, in many countries, in more than 200 countries, we have consumer protection law under the Bill of Rights. It's unfortunate that maybe our friends here in Uganda, among those that are there from East Africa, Uganda is working hard to ensure that consumer rights are in the Constitution, and especially in the Bill of Rights, but hope they'll get there. And also other upcoming countries that don't have consumer organizations to lobby or ensure that consumer rights are being upheld. What is the role of government in consumer protection? I usually tell people, and I keep reminding the listeners and consumers, that us as a civil society, we don't replace the role of government. Government is supposed to be protecting the citizens. So for us, we come in to complement where necessary or correct where necessary. So the role of government is to ensure that consumers are safe and the rights are being upheld. And that's why we have different laws here in Kenya, and also different departments where consumer protection is being enhanced. Talk of energy, we have a law that is protecting consumers there. Talk of competition authority, we have one. Communication authority, we have one. So every sector, there is a component of consumer protection. So first, the role of government is to ensure that consumers are protected according to the Constitution, Article 46 of the same. What is the role of civil societies like us? The role of civil societies is to go a long way to encourage and also to teach and to train where necessary, and to enhance the protection of consumer rights that are enshrined in the Constitution. And where maybe it has been infringed, that's when we come in and we seek redress. We seek maybe legal mechanism, or we go ahead and arbitrate. So our role is to be like a watchdog. So we don't replace government. Some people think that we can carry the role of government. No, as we do our role as civil society, and our space is very well articulated, very well defined, and we live and we act within our space. Now the elephant in the room, genetically modified organisms, the GMO. This is the topic that we are going to talk about today. A lot has been said about GMOs. A lot has been said from government side. And we also have had many people talk from the civil society. And when you look at it, mostly people don't understand what GMOs are. And that's why you find people saying that maybe we've been consuming GMOs ever since we were born, which is maybe correct for some people, but also wrong for some people. Because as far as we are concerned, GMOs have only existed for 30 years, ever since the first product was allowed to be grown in an open field. So it's 30 years. So no one has lived a full cycle to know how GMOs behave. So whatever people are talking out here, whether it's supporting or against GMO, a greater percentage are speaking from a very ignorant point of view. So what are these GMOs that we are talking about? The word GMO stands for genetically modified organisms. Let's now break down word by word. Genetically, meaning genes. Yeah. Many times we use the word DNA. So though the scientific word, as you can see it in the screen, it's deoxyribonucleic acid, a molecule that carries genetic information for the development and functioning of an organism. So there's the second word that is modified. Genetically modified is the second word, meaning that there are some changes that has been made to the DNA so that it yields different results. And the third word is organism. When we are talking of organism, and maybe in this time that we are talking about maize, most people think it's only plants. No, when we are talking of organism, for those who have been in a science class, it means living things. Gene editing, which scientists use, even us here in Kenya, we have scientists, it occurs when a scientist takes a tiny controlled change in a DNA of a living organism. That change now is the one that produces the new component that we call GMO. So it's as simple as that. It's nothing complicated. So when somebody tells you that you've been consuming GMO, or GMO is equivalent or is like the hybrid that we've been consuming or planting, that is wrong. This one is controlled, is artificial. It's not been allowed, as unlike in hybrid, all the genes from one species are allowed to mix with genes from another species in a natural way. In GMO, it's done mostly, as we can see, in laboratories. And then after now we get it from a controlled room. That's when, after being tested over and over again, it's now released for open in an open field when it comes to plants. So I believe that small introduction or small explanation can help us understand what GMOs are. Now let's go to the myths and facts. I wouldn't like to go deeper into what GMOs are, because the topic we have in the country right now is not really a scientific talk or topic. And that's why we have to handle it as it has come. If it was in a scientific class, then we could have only maybe sat down the scientists and they talk about the topic or the issues around GMOs. But now this is something that's affecting us directly, and we ought to have a say on the same. So let's go to the myths and facts about GMOs. Myths and facts about GMOs. Myth number one: we need GM crops to feed the world's growing population. A lie, a very big lie. And this lie is being sold out by the multinational companies, seed companies, and the pesticides companies are the ones carrying this lie. And the fact is, there is no global or regional shortage of food. Let us take now example of this country, Kenya. We have been lied to that we have a shortage of food, which is not true. The only problem we have in this country is the infrastructure. One part of the country produces so much food and it goes bad. Some, like when they produce milk, we've seen in TVs, they are pouring down the milk, while children in another part of the country are starving. What does that tell you? It's just lack of using the brains that God has given us to ensure that food produced in one part of the country can be transported to another part of the country. So instead of going to get remedy from outside the country, from the western part, where actually they are running away from GMO, we should be investing that money in infrastructure. Myth number two: GM crops give higher yields. And the fact is that GM crops do not produce higher yields. And the point in case you know what happened with the BT cotton here in Kenya, when the first time farmers planted, the yield was very good. But as time went by, the yield reduced drastically. So what does that also tell you? It's not true that the yields are higher as they are purporting it to be. Myth number three: there are no alternative to GM if we are to increase food production. And the fact is, low input farming can produce food security for future generations. I know someone might be asking, why low input farming? Why low input farming? The input farming that we are referring to here is a farming that does not need to be accelerated, for lack of a better word, accelerated or artificially accelerated. Let us go the natural way, and we will get enough food for all the future generations. And one of these alternatives of a low input farming is agroecology, which is a sustainable solution for food security, both here in Kenya and in Africa. Because under agroecology now you give the plant, let me talk of plants here, because let us now focus on plants mostly, and let us not mix with animals. You give the plant an environment where it can thrive, an environment where it can grow naturally and coexist with other plants, so they can get nutrients from other organisms within the ecosystem. So agroecology here means that you grow plants naturally, that the process will not disturb or will not affect the environment as such. Of course, there's no any form of farming that you say cannot really affect the environment, but it's quite minimal when it comes to agroecology. So this is an alternative that we can use, and it can regenerate also the soil by and those yields that we are talking about will increase from time to time. So let's go to another myth that is propagated out here, that GM is just an extension of natural breeding. I've already explained that it's not true. It's totally artificial, and it can never be an extension or an alternative. The fact is GM is different from natural breeding and poses greater risks. Another myth is that gene editing is precise, controllable, and safe as natural breeding. Now you can see. In the first one, they are saying that GM foods is an extension of natural breeding. But you can see the other lie here. That gene editing is precise, controllable, and safe as a natural breeding. This is a human being that we know that human beings are not perfect, that's trying to say that is precise and safe, as if they are God, you know. No. Science is prone to error. Human beings are prone to error, and you cannot say that this is a perfect way or maybe nearly perfect way of breeding. The fact is, gene editing techniques can have unexpected outcomes that could pose dangers, which is true. Another myth that extensive objective scientific studies confirm the safety of GM crops and foods. The fact is that many studies on GM crop and food safety are not objective. What do we mean here? I've had an opportunity to be with scientists, our own scientists here in Kenya and East Africa. And you realize that when they are coming up with, when they want an idea to be propagated out there, when they want something to be a statement to go out there to favor what they are doing, they will do all it takes. They will come together, coalesce together, and come up with a statement as if they did, they have evidence on the same. And because they want to push and propel what they believe in or what their masters believe in, because most of our scientists apparently have been sponsored by the multinationals so that they can come and become their puppets. And I have no apologies to use that word. They have come to Kenya to become their puppets. And what they are selling and what they are promoting is exactly what their masters want, because they're the ones who paid for them school fees. So they don't have an alternative other than to promote that, because that is part of their bargain. So they could come together and form a coalition sort of, and go out there, tell people this is what we want to, this is what we came up with, and this thing is safe. It's not true. The studies out there, and if we can cite the study of Sierra Leone, the one and only scientist that came out with a study that was not agreeing with the rest, that after feeding rats with GM food for 2 years, and they were tested, it was proven that they had tumors, and those tumors were carcinogenic. I mean, those tumors were cancerous. So what does that tell you? There's no study out here that can prove 100% that GMOs are safe or they are not safe. I want to get you to get that clear. Even us who are against GMOs, we don't have anything to base our argument on that they are not safe. Or those who are promoting the safety of GMOs or they are pro-GMOs, they also don't have proof to show that GMOs are safe for human consumption. So for us to be safe, we rather not take, instead of take and be sorry later on. So the other myth, and I'm about to finish, is that GM foods are strictly tested and regulated for safety. The fact is GM regulations are not strong enough to protect health and environment. And that one, we can see what's going on still in the USA. They are still not there. So it's a proof enough that the laws and regulations out here are not strong enough to protect us. The other myth is that safety research on GMOs are carried out in different experts. The fact is, governments have made those who stand to profit from the sale of GMOs responsible for ensuring their safety. That is a fact. Go even NBA, you'll get this fact there. Another myth is that GM foods are safe to eat. The fact is, some GM crops and foods have toxic and allergenic effects on laboratory and farm animals. This is a fact. And most of them have been found to cause cancer. The other myth that I want just to read through so that we can finish on this, extensive animal research shows that crops are safe. I've already told you that the flaws in this research make it its conclusion unreliable. It's very true. We have found out from the Sierra Leone one, yet we are yet also to find out there are other scientists that are also working on the same. They are not agreeing with GMOs, and very soon I think we are going to have as many materials as possible out here to enable us get the understanding of GMOs, and so that you as a consumer can make a decision. By the way, we are not forcing you not to consume GMOs. If someone wants to take poison, just let that person take poison. But let there be a law to protect you who is taking that poison and the other person that is not taking the poison. So for those who are not consuming GMs or they are against the GMOs, they need also to be protected out here, okay? The other myth is that the GM crops reduce pesticide use. The fact is crops increase pesticide use. That is it's everywhere. You can check it anywhere and you can find it everywhere that it increases, because there are lies that have been peddled on us on our TV by our scientists, a few scientists who are my friends, that if you have a GM crop, you'll only spray maybe 3 times. And they were citing the BT cotton, that they use chemicals 3 times, unlike the other one that they use 12 times. And that is the lie that they're telling everyone everywhere. But remember, a GM crop, right from coming up with the seeds, unlike our natural seeds, our indigenous seeds, right from producing the seed, they're using chemicals. Up to production, they're using chemicals. Up to storage, they're using chemicals. So the use of pesticides is on a higher, is on on the increase when it comes to GM crops. Glyphosate herbicides are safe. That's what they say. The GM promoters say that. And we still know that a large body of evidence shows that glyphosate herbicides are not safe. For those who are watching and are farmers, you have heard the effects of glyphosate herbicides, and they are being discouraged not to be used because they have been found to be carcinogenic. And we hope very soon, with the collaboration we are having with the German government. The other day we had a sitting with the Minister of Agriculture from Germany, and they are giving their word that they are going to pass laws to stop exportation of pesticides with toxic substances that are coming to harm the soil and also the animals and the environment in Africa. So going forward, as we continue spreading this gospel, we believe that if they stop from the other side, and we also push for governments to withdraw whatever it is in the shelves, then consumers are going to be safe, and also farmers are going to be safe. Another myth is that BT crops contain toxic and only target certain pests. The fact is, those crops contain a super toxic that affects many species. So you can imagine the kind of toxic substance that this crop could be having. If it can scare off even the bees, and as we all know, bees are very key when it comes to pollination. So if it can scare even the bees, what does that tell you? The yields will go down of other crops just because of that one crop that has a toxic substance in it that is scaring other useful insects in the ecosystem. We have another fact, myth that BT crops reduce insecticide use, of which is just like the other one of pesticides. The fact is BT crops do not reduce the use of insecticides, but simply change the mode of application. Having done with the myths, we need to just get an understanding of food sovereignty. According to FAO, FAO recognizes that food sovereignty control over the food system need to remain in the hands of farmers. So for us to attain food sovereignty, the control over the food system has to remain in the hands of farmers. And when we are talking of these farmers, we are talking of the local farmers, not while we are Kenya and the farmers are in the USA. We have another organization called Global Justice Now. It says food sovereignty allows communities control over the way food is produced, traded, and consumed, creating a food system that is designed to help people and the environment rather than make profits for multinational corporates. Basically, there's an agreement that for us to attain food sovereignty, then we need to promote the local farmer. I'm only touching here and there because food sovereignty is a whole topic on its own that we can have like an hour or 2 hours discussing about it. We've talked about GMOs. We've talked about what is GMO, the myths and also facts about GMO. And part of that is about food yields, food production to feed the population. And now we are here talking about food sovereignty. There are 6 food sovereignty principles. I'm not going to explain, I'm only going to read out. Number 1 is it focuses on food for people. So the emphasis here is on the right of sufficient, healthy and culturally appropriate food for all individuals, peoples, and communities. Remember here, they have talked about the emphasis. Talked about the emphasis on the right to sufficient, enough, healthy, and culturally appropriate. If we can pause a little bit there and ask ourselves, who are we? Who are you? I believe that I am what I eat. So even my culture is defined by what I eat. So if you take away my food, you've taken away my culture. If you take away my food, you've killed my culture completely. We'll talk about other nutritional values in other areas, but just to mention, you take away my food, and especially my indigenous food, meaning that you have also taken away the nutritional contents or values that I get from the indigenous food that we have been eating, and it has been passed on from generation to generation from our forefathers, and here we are. We are eating it, we have received it, and we are supposed to pass on to our children. So you take away my food, you take away my culture, you take away my nutrition. Number 2, values food providers. Food sovereignty, it values the food providers. So that smallholder farmer, as a country, we've been fed by smallholder farmers. That is about 80% have been feeding this country. Unlike other countries like in the US, they do large-scale farming. Here in Kenya, the population has been sustained by 80% smallholder farmers. Our fathers, our mothers, our aunts, our brothers and sisters are the ones sustaining us. So when it comes to food sovereignty, they are appreciated and they are valued. Number 3, a food sovereignty localizes food systems. It localizes food systems, meaning that you will not have longer value chains. You will not have issues with traceability, because it will be easier for you to trace food to the source. So it means that also, if you can be able to trace food to the source, you can also be able to tell even the safety of that food, because it's easier to know how it was produced, because it has been produced locally within the vicinity. Number 4, it makes decisions, it helps make decisions locally. So if you want to make a decision, you don't need to call a farmer in the USA to make a decision on what is happening here in Kenya. Food sovereignty seeks to control over the access of the territory, the land, grazing place, the water, seeds, everything. Decisions are made locally. And if I was in the church, I could have asked you to say one amen. Yes. Number 5, it builds the knowledge and the skills. Food sovereignty builds skills and the local knowledge of food providers and their local organizations that conserve, develop, and manage. So everything is developed locally. Knowledge is developed locally. And that's what forms part of the culture. That's what forms who we are. That's what defines us. Number 6, it works with nature. Food sovereignty works with nature. In this sense, it doesn't harm nature. The local people, if I take now the Maasai community here in Kajiado, they have coexisted with animals and also with plants for a very long period of time, and none has affected the other. What does that tell you? That tells you that when it comes to food sovereignty, if it's localized, then everything, every organism in the ecosystem feels proud. For lack of a better word, it feels proud. Number six, as I've said, it works with nature, meaning that also it's very easy to mitigate the climate change. It's very easy to curb climate change crisis as what we are in now. Now, if we can now take agroecology that I mentioned early enough, agroecology ensures that the soil is well taken care of, the plants have been taken care of, the animals within the ecosystems are happy, and thereby encouraging the environment to be better for each and every organism, ensuring that there's a long-lasting solution when it comes to climate change. I know some of the people went to Egypt for COP27. And I wonder what they discussed there. Some people who go there, they have not even planted one single tree. They have not even tried to put a kitchen garden, but they are there in boardroom meetings. I really pity some people. It's only that I don't have the powers to tell them off those boardroom meetings. But if we can go down and talk of agroecology, talk about tree planting, let us have fruit trees here. And then besides the fruit trees, we have our vegetables there. And then besides there, we have something else here. We have our own sheep there that feeds from what we are getting from the shamba. It makes life so sweet, and it makes every organism very happy. That way, the issues of climate change will not really occur, and we will mitigate them. But this is alongside telling the West, who have caused us, who have made us to be where we are, to pay for their sins. I'm not forgetting that. It's because of their emissions that we are where we are right now. Now let's come to the lifting of the ban of GMO in Kenya. What does lifting of the GMO ban mean to us? As I mentioned before, in the year 2012, Sierra Leone had a study about the safety of GMOs, and for 2 years, the rats were fed. Even though some people say that it was being unfair to the rats, they were fed, and when it was tested, they had some tumors. Those tumors were kind of, they were cancerous. In Kenya, around the same time, GMOs were banned in the year 2012 by then our minister, Beth Mugo. And 1 year after that, there was a committee that was formed, a multi-sectoral committee that was formed. And the recommendations that came after that is that GMOs were not safe. And that's when now this ban was put into, it was effected fully. Now, what we are asking ourselves, it's just the other day we did the elections. Immediately after the elections, the ban was lifted. So 10 years later, we are asking ourselves, as those people who care for you, as people who are enhancing the protection of your rights, we are asking ourselves, is there any scientific study that was carried out to inform the decision? Is there any information that is out there? Were consumers involved? Were you asked? Were you called to public participation to help make this decision or to help inform this decision? So our question is, why was the rush? The president had just come in. He had not even picked his own cabinet. He went ahead and used the old cabinet, and he lifted the ban. And immediately you can hear, even before the laws have been passed in parliament, there's a number of bags right at the port of Mombasa of GM maize. So we are reading more than what we can hear. Who is behind this? The Americans were here the other day, and they immediately went, a lot has been happening about GMOs. So who is this ban lifting benefiting? That is the question you should ask yourself. So when you go out for public participation, I believe it will come. Ask yourself, why was the ban lifted and who was it benefiting? That doubt only is enough for you not even to consume the GMO. And what are the effects? I've tried to outline. It's not that I went somewhere to come up with this. We've been interacting with this topic for quite some time. So I tried to outline a few issues here and there. And number one is that the smallholder farmers will compete with the American large-scale farmers. And that's why they're able to bring as many bags, 10 million. Next, they'll be talking about 100 million bags. I don't know whether they'll say it like that. But right now, they say 10 million are going to come in duty-free. So meaning that our smallholder farmers are going to be affected. Our smallholder farmers who have been farming to educate their children, they'll remain jobless. They will not have a source of income. And yet, us out here, we protect the livelihood. So that farm, when they sell something from the farm, it helps them to sustain themselves. So that is a loss of livelihood. And at the same time, they might even turn out to be beggars. Number two, the indigenous seeds will be no more. And this is what I said, that these seeds have been passed over to us year after year, generation after generation. And this is the pride of our smallholder farmers. They keep their seeds to plant in the next season. So when GMOs come, meaning that our indigenous seeds will not be there. And what does that tell you? If the indigenous seeds are not there, then it means that we will forever depend on the multinational seed companies that will be providing the seeds, meaning that every planting season, a farmer will go to the shop, to the agrovet, to buy seeds to come and plant. It will become expensive, one, for that farmer. Number two, those seeds may not even be there, because what we are producing are seedless, or the seeds that will be produced cannot be replanted. Number three, what does that mean? Our culture will be wiped out too. As I told you, our food is our culture. We are what we eat. Africa is beautiful because of the diverse culture that we have. And this begins with food. So if our food is wiped out, you take away our seeds, you've taken away our food. And you take away our food, you have taken away our culture. Number three, our environment will be affected. So there will be biodiversity loss. And number four, we will have our traditional food rich in nutrients will be no more. Right now I'm eating derema, morenda, and now you'll be telling me to eat some white vegetables every other time. What does that mean? I'll not have nutrients. My children will not. And we'll have a population that will be lacking nutrients. And what will that result to? Those companies, again, they will come with multivitamin for you to buy and take so that you can sustain yourself. In short, we are going to promote the multinational companies. and our lives will be controlled. If you want, for those ladies who are watching me, we usually say that a way to a man's heart is through the stomach. So for this context, let's put this way. A way to anyone or to a hungry person is through the stomach. And that person can do anything to please you. That person can do anything to ensure that he gets something to eat. Is that not neocolonialism? Or in this case, is that not agrocolonialism? If you think we are free, as long as we agree for GMOs to come, just know we've gone back to the days of our forefathers. And they were even better. We are going to worse days because for them, they could go to the forest and they get the forest trees, the forest fruits, and they could eat. So if you've gone to school, make use of that to protect yourself. It's not just enough to please the leadership. It's not just enough to go and say, huyu ni kiongozi wangu, huyu ndio nilipigia kura, so wacha tu nimfurahishe. No. Some of us, even when we were in government, we ensured that we corrected the government. And I don't have apology for that. So kindly, brethren, brothers and sisters, this is a call to you that if you are going to leave anytime soon from the call, just make sure that you protect yourself and your generation. The consumer concerns, and this is what I was asking, why the rush of lifting the ban? Was there public participation? I've talked about it. Were there laws? Sorry, this one I think I missed out, but I'll correct it. Are there laws to protect consumers that are against the GMOs? Have they come up with those laws to protect consumers that are against the GMOs? Where are laws to protect smallholder farmers in the event of cross-pollination? Farmers in the USA, they know that from farm to farm, there is a space that you live. And that distance is between, it's about 20 meters from one farm to another. But remember, in those countries, they don't have too much wind like we have here in Africa. So meaning that locally, we need to come up with the laws that will protect a farmer who is not willing to plant GMOs, and in the event it is tested and found that there was cross-pollination, what are the redress mechanisms for that? Those laws have not been put in place. So if you hear people saying out there that the civil society is fighting government, those are the only things we are asking for. We are not really asking for much. We are asking for you to be protected. If you want to consume, fine, be protected. If I don't want to consume, let me be protected also. Those who are producing GMOs, let them be protected. At the same time, those who are not producing GMOs and are not ready to be protected. And the government to put laws to protect them and redress mechanisms. So there should be even a kitty. In the event this farmer has been, this law has been violated, he has or she has to be compensated from that kitty. And that's what we are asking for. What is the interest of multinational companies in Kenya? We've seen them coming here. So when you go for public participation, try to ask the government and tell us why the dignitaries coming here, delegations who are coming to Kenya, what is their interest? The Monsantos, why were they really even spending a lot of money in this country, maybe during the campaigns? Ask those tough questions so that we can get the answers from government. If GMOs are good, why is government promoting them? NBA, which is supposed to be a national biosafety authority that's supposed to regulate, it's now supporting GMOs, is promoting GMOs. We sit and wonder. We established that biosafety authority using the taxpayers' money, and they are using the taxpayers' money to promote GMOs. Even the person who doesn't want GMOs, his or her tax is being used to promote GMOs. Those are the questions that we should ask during the public participation. So whose interest is being served here? So those questions are not give you the answers. Just go and ask yourself, and also ask those who are promoting GMOs. The role of stakeholders when it comes to GMOs. The fact that there's no evidence we can rely on whether GMOs are safe or not, is a reason enough for our government to listen and go slow on the same. So what's the role of government? I've highlighted a few areas of which we can look at, we can explore more. I just highlighted a few areas as per the engagement I've been having with the other stakeholders. One, to legislate on laws that will protect those that want to consume and those that are against GMO, and also facilitate other stakeholders to educate the public on the same law and the consequences. So come up with a law, but don't put it in the shelf. Let that law be broken into a language that a consumer can understand. Since they are getting the taxpayers' money, let them use money for public participation, whether it's at the county level or the national level. There's money set aside for that. Go down to the grassroots, do sensitization, let people make informed decisions. And that law, we feel it should capture that the government should be ready to compensate smallholder farmers that might be affected by cross-pollination, proper traceability mechanism to the source, mandatory, yani you have to label your GMO food. If you produce the GMO beans, maize, you have to label it. If it's meant for selling, you have to put a label and show that this is GMO and it came from this farm. We want that to be mandatory. We want bodies to protect consumers to live up to their mandate. Those departments and also ministries under which consumers are supposed to be protected, and especially when it regards to food safety and also these GMOs, they are supposed to live up to their mandate. Even if government wants to promote the GMOs, it's also important to know that there are those consumers who are not ready to consume GMOs. So government should not force citizens to consume GMOs. We are about to finish. The role of stakeholders are finished with government. Now I've gone to civil society. Civil society have a role to educate the public on the right to access safe, adequate, and nutritious food. So this is where Article 43(1)(c) of the Constitution is applied, because it's the work or is the core mandate of government to ensure that citizens are fed. So ours is to educate, to sensitize consumers, to know that, hey, there's a law that's protecting you in the Constitution. Article 43(1)(c) says that you have a right to access. So accessibility is key. Access safe, adequate, not just access, but adequate, safe, adequate, and nutritious food for you and your family. There is need to sensitize consumers on GMOs in order to make informed decisions, because consumers are worried a lot, because you saw in most of the people who are in many WhatsApp groups where I am, I sent a poll. I was so surprised that 90% of the respondents, they said they don't want GMOs. So I also wonder where the government is pushing these GMOs to. Because consumers are worried about the safety of food. And that's why we need to sensitize them. Let them get to know. Let them go ask questions. When you go to buy food, please try to establish the source of that food. Let us learn to task or put to task NBA to live up to its expectations from the consumers, KEBS, KEFIS, Carlo, and also the public health, where food safety falls under. We need to put them into task, let them do their job, sensitize consumers, because they have the resources from the taxpayers' money. The Food Safety Authority is yet to be established, and we are glad to have been part of the stakeholders that we contacted, and we walked the journey up to when it was taken for public participation. And after that, the policy is now lying at the cabinet table, I believe, table, shelf, or whatever. But we believe very soon it's going to be enacted into law, so that we can have now a one-stop shop for food safety. Because right now, as it is, we stand at where laws on food safety are fragmented in different departments, different ministries, different stakeholders, and each one of them has a role to play when it comes to food safety. And the Food Safety Authority, under the policy that is yet to be assented to, is going to establish a central place where all the laws are going to be looked into. As much as you are going to practice it, or you are going to implement them individually, but at least there will be one controlling body, and also one controlling head in the name of the food policy, food safety auditor that is going to be established, and when this law comes to be. Consumers need to be sensitized because they have a right to information in order to make informed choices. That one, I've talked about it over and over. I don't want to repeat it again. Also, they want to know the legal mechanism. That one, I've talked about it. Civil societies also are supposed to collaborate with government, because for the few years I've worked in civil society, we've noticed that there are so many good laws and materials with government, perfect, powerful materials. But the problem is they are all kept on shelves. So the role of civil society is to ensure that the materials are taken out of there. Information that is meant to benefit the citizen is taken out of the shelf, and is broken down in a language a citizen can understand, and is taken back to the citizen so that they can make informed choices. So that is the role of the civil society. And what is the way forward? Remember, our topic was GMO, what way to go? So what is the way forward? Government to stop any further importation and advertisement or promotion of GMOs. Because as government, they're supposed to protect all citizens. Government to hold public participation on GMOs, because it was never held. And I can't say that we are afraid. And at this point, I cannot say that we don't trust the courts, even though some people feel that once we go to court on the same, we might be told I don't know whether it will now be cold air or hot air, but we still have faith with the courts. So anytime soon, we might be in the corridors of justice to try and overturn what was done before or undo what was lifted before. But before we reach there, we believe in engaging, first of all. We believe in reaching out. We believe in talking to the stakeholders, the key people that have been mandated to take that action. And we are hopeful that they are going to listen to us. Let the courts be the last resort. At the moment, we want to still engage and see what results will come out of that. Yeah, government to support lobby groups, including those against GMOs, to sensitize their members on pros and cons on GMOs. Legislators also, the MPs, if there's anybody listening to me, you are an MCA, I cannot be able to tell who is on call. I can only see myself. You are an MCA here, nominated or elected. You are an MP listening to me. You are working in those offices. Kindly let us not allow GMOs here. Resist GMOs until proper guidelines have been put into place, so that wale wanataka kukula, let them eat. And those who don't want to eat, let them also be protected. This is the message throughout. And for consumers, you and I, we are consumers. Consumers are not another group of people out there. We are all consumers. Government to support lobby groups, including those of us who are against GMOs, to also sensitize our members on the pros and cons of GMOs. The lobby groups to ensure no GMOs are sold in Kenya without proper laws. CS Kuria, the other day, he trended a lot. And he said that he pronounced himself that consuming GMOs is one of the ways to die in Kenya. In other words, he was trying to tell us GMOs are not safe. I believe that is the communication that he was bringing out, that GMOs are not safe. But I want to remind us, if it's not safe, if even you have a doubt, don't consume. If it's not safe for the people in Europe, it's not safe for people in Kenya. If it's not safe for people in America, it's not safe for people in Africa. So if it's not safe, it's not food. And our hashtag should be not safe, not food. Don't consume anything you are doubting that it's not safe. So this war has been drawn. The battle line has been drawn. Over the 10 years, we didn't know what was happening, but now we know who we are dealing with. This battle line has been drawn. And now we know, because we may not fight the government like us consumers, we cannot be able to fight government. Can we fight with our fork? Can we fight with our spoon? Can we fight with our mind? We make decisions that are going to save us, our children, and the environment. Remember, we are living on an environment borrowed from our children's children. And we believe strongly that if we make right decisions now, we will hand it over to them better than we found it. And this is my prayer, that let people consume safe food and let us not be colonized using food. Our forefathers fought for us, and now we have found a smooth landing, a smooth place to work on, to go to school, to thrive, to develop. But we don't even appreciate, some of us, not all of us, some of us don't appreciate the efforts that were put by our forefathers to deliver our land from the white people. So the only gift we can give our forefathers now is to try as much as possible not to go back to the same state using food, because they know if they control our food, we will be dancing to their tune. It's my prayer that you don't dance to the tune of multinationals. It's my prayer that we can be able to save our seeds and pass them over to our children's children. It's my prayer that we can regenerate our environment and become better by practicing agroecology. It's my prayer that you and I will stand firm and protect this land to the last drop of our blood. It's my prayer that you listen to me today, whoever is listening to me today, that you take action, not only for you, but also for your neighbor. May this message go to your neighbor, to your family, to your churches. And my last call is to the clergy, and especially the Catholic faithfuls who are listening to me. I'm not, I don't fellowship in the Catholic Church, but I studied this book, a good book that was written by a Pope, because I don't have boundaries myself. I can go anywhere. And there's this encyclical that Pope wrote about environment. And GMOs have been mentioned as part of that book. Can you go back and read Pope Francis' encyclical? It's a letter that he has written to the faithful. And he has called on all the Catholic faithful to not only conserve the environment, but also he has touched on Mother Earth, on how to relate, on how to work on our common home, which is Mother Earth. But at the same time, he has talked or mentioned about GMOs. Your greatest number in Kenya and in the world. If you can take this message seriously, go to your cell groups that you call Jumuiya, talk about these GMOs, and especially talk against the GMOs. That's where I stand, and that's where Pop stand is. Let us try to sensitize our Jumuiyas about GMOs. Those of us who are coming from other faith-based organizations, let us also try to sensitize our people about GMOs. If you believe in that, we cannot crucify you. But what we are asking you, go deeper and understand what GMOs are. As I told you, where we are now is not about science. It's about politics. It's about colonialism. And if we take it in that direction, we will get the answers. And I know people have questions. That is our email contact. You can contact us through the email. And on our website, if you check tomorrow and maybe the day after tomorrow, we have produced a publication on agroecology from a consumer perspective. I'll be able to share the link in the group maybe tomorrow or the day after. You read and see how when you practice agroecology, you are going to make everybody happy and all organisms happy. Thank you for listening. In case of any question, I'm here to respond. And I believe also there are other experts on call that can also add or respond. Thank you so much, moderator. Moderator?
Thank you. I hope you're able to hear me, Miss Alice. Thank you so much. That was candid and very informative speech and a call to action. I am well informed. I think there's a lot of information that I didn't have before you spoke to us. And my prayer is that all of us are more informed. And of course, information is power, knowledge is power. From my side, I would want to bring one question from one of our viewers. Yes, you have asked us to do something, and probably you have said that your good organization is looking to engage the seniors. My question to you would be, what is it that me and my neighbor in Kajiado North can do at this point to help in this matter? Thank you. Kindly respond.
One thing that I could advise us in Kajiado North and Kajiado County, because I believe, and I'm glad, I think I have one or two people watching from South Africa. What we can do as residents of Kajiado North and also Kajiado County is, first of all, to ensure we know the source of our food. Let us know the source of our food. Because being in Kenya and being the Kenyans we are, we know ourselves. People will bring that GMO maize. They go and decide not to brand it. And at the end of the day, we will consume the GM unga. So let us try as much as possible to know the source of our food. Right now, the door has been opened for GM grains. Tomorrow, you never know what product will come to the country. So let us try as much as possible to know. Check the label. Don't be in a hurry that umetoka kazi, unataka kuenda, unataka kuchukua kitu kwa shelf. Look at the label. Know what is written there. Know whether what you want to buy is fit for you or not. Number two, as residents of Kajiado North, especially Kajiado North, because I know most of us don't have where we are farming, can we try as much as possible to have a small kitchen, a garden? When you have a small kitchen garden, at least you know what you are consuming, especially the vegetables, you know where they are coming from and how you are producing them. So basically what you can do is to trace the food. And working together with us as an organization, you are free. That's why I've given the contact, so that check. We are going to put a tracker on our website, but you see, not everybody can access the website or be able to access the website. If you cannot, you can just call me. Maybe I'll put that later. You can call us and we reach out, we work together. I know there are many resource persons out there. You're most welcome to come to this association. Associations are meant for people. Association is not mine. Tomorrow, I'll not be the executive director. Maybe someone out there listening to me will be the one sitting in that seat in CGA. So please let us work together. We put our voices together in a very let us not also disrespect government. No, those are human beings like you and me. But let us be firm in our decisions. I can respect you and still remain firm.
Thank you, Madam Alice. I feel like you are the epitome of being firm, what being firm means. Another question here is it possible that we are already consuming GMOs in our country?
My response could be legally, No. But being the Kenyans we are, yes. So my answer is yes and no. Why am I saying yes and no? GMOs were banned from Kenya, so we believe there's no GMO that has been imported to the country. But there are some confessions that have been made in my presence, in other forums, from some quarters of government, that we've been consuming GMO. And also there are some confessions that have been made by an international organization that he has been giving some relief food. Most likely, seemingly, it has been GMO. Until recently is when the National Biosafety Authority started producing the stickers for GMO or the labels for GMO. So I cannot say legally we are, but anything is possible. Let me not roll it out. Anything is possible. The only product that was allowed to be produced in Kenya that is GM is BT cotton, and that is not food. But in the event it has gotten a way to come to the country, is quite unfortunate. And if we had agencies that were active, that were doing surveillance, then we could not be where we are. We could know when they are coming in. Unfortunately, that's where we are at. But we believe that tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, we will improve as a country to have better ways of handling, especially the imports.
Many thanks, Madam Alice. Madam Salome Mureithi is here asking us, will the producers be sincere enough to label their foods as GMOs if they are?
As I said before, we are hopeful. And that's the reason why we are pushing for laws. Because if it's not written, then it cannot be able to protect you. So we are pushing for laws to be enacted so that in the event we take a product from a producer A, we go or we suspect it and we go to test it, and it's found to have traces of GMO, we can take an action. It might not be us as consumer grassroots. I believe Madam Moreithi, yes, the one who asked the question. Yes.
Salome Moreithi, yes.
Yes, Madam Salome Moreithi. I believe that as an empowered consumer, you can be able to protect yourself. And when you find that the workload is, maybe the issue is too heavy, we can come together and pull our resources together. If we suspect someone is doing a wrong thing, we can be able to go get it tested. Once we find there are traces of GMOs, using this very, very low we are pushing for, we can now go in for redress mechanism, for redress. So this is why we are being labeled as traitors. People are saying that we are fighting government. No, we want laws to be enacted, to be in place to protect you and also me. So being sincere enough that I cannot speak for them. But once the product is out, it's up to us also, if we suspect, to take action.
Thank you, Miss Alice. That was very informative. We cannot equal it to anything. We've been reading everything on the social media, scientists and everyone out there. But tonight, I believe we have had information that is verifiable. And it is indeed, we come out of this meeting more informed. And as the Kajiado We Want, we are a team that will go out there and support what your organization is doing. not just to support you, but so that we can protect ourselves, protect our children, and protect the future generation. Also protecting the environment. I think that is our responsibility. And of course, we want a better Kajiado. This is the Kajiado we want. Thank you so much. I would like us at this point to give a vote of thanks. We've had viewers from all over. We are so grateful for anyone that tuned in to listen to us and to listen to Miss Alice. We're also grateful for our speaker tonight. Awesome speaker. We love you so much, Miss Alice. We hope that you will come and, of course, continue with this topic. I know there is a lot more that will come up after this. Thank you so much, our chairman, Mr. David Ndome. Would you want to say something? Are you in a place to say something, our chairman?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Thank you very much. I can't add anything other than just crown it up with thanks to our presenter, Alice. Very informative. We've learned a lot, and now we know which way forward for GMO. I think we will continue to consult as we spread the news as well as the information, because if you are informed, you are forewarned. We need to get all the information about GMOs before, as citizens, we can make a decision. Otherwise, thank you to everybody who came on board to listen to this and actively participated and asked questions. Back to you, moderator. You may end the session.
Thank you so much, everyone. Let us go out there, preach the gospel. And whenever you need information, kindly reach out to us and we will be able to connect you to Madam Alice for more information, for clarity, and even to connect you to where you need, you can get more information or where you can get help. Otherwise, thank you so much. It's a good night. God bless you. God bless Kajiado. Thank you so much.
Amen.